Hi everyone, I'm here with Linda Jennings from Color Storm Yarns, and today we're going to talk about Wheesht.
Chapter, the next chapter is called Don't Ask.
Mm.
Just beginning this chapter. So, in your creative process, don't ask permission to make something. Just go for it, even if you feel like um, that you're not qualified. So, she starts out by saying, do you ever feel underqualified to start a project? Are you worried about how others might regard your work? Have you considered creating something beyond your current skill level, but feel you are much too much of a beginner to even attempt it? Don't ask permission, just do it. How else are you going to learn without just trying? Most of us knitters are learn by doing, right? And you just have to pick up that yarn and try that skill, even if it looks hard. And you can ask for help, but don't ask permission to start.
Yeah, I just had an experience with this where I was working with students and we were trying what looked to be a very complex, difficult pattern. And this particular pattern had a chart and it had written words and the image of the finished project or like what you wanted to end up with. And watching the students work through the challenge was really interesting. And to your point, they did not want to start. They wanted to know exactly what to do at each step, and there were knowledge gaps because their skills didn't match what the pattern had. But what was interesting is that once we started actually doing it and just moving forward in faith and trying it one step at a time and doing each part, the directions made sense. And so that was a really magical moment to witness how everything sort of like came together and started to make sense.
That's a beautiful story. I like that. And I admire people so much that are willing to try new stuff. It's
Mm-hmm.
hard. It's hard. I mean, when we're young, we're used to not knowing stuff and having to start something from the beginning and learn and be the one who doesn't know. And it takes a long time to become the person who's good at it.
The element of frustration.
Yeah. And to be
Yeah.
willing to walk through that part it is tough, and sometimes it
Yeah.
takes a little courage or a little prompting or a little holding hand with a friend, right? I guess that's why sometimes we cast on together and you do a group knit along, right? So that we can all
Totally.
experience that lack of knowledge together and those discovery moments together.
Discovery moments. That's a juicy idea. Yeah.
She says on the next page, there is no qualification needed to be a maker.
Zero.
Let me say that again. There
Yeah.
is no qualification needed to be a maker.
Mm-hmm.
There are no certificates, no passes, no fails. There's no gate, there's no degree, there's no graduation. There's no gatekeeper deciding who is and who is not worthy.
Mm-hmm.
But the making of things makes me feel vulnerable, she writes.
Yeah.
And that's true. But she said it's good when you feel vulnerable because a place of vulnerability is a great place from which to start creating something really good.
Mm.
That moment of vulnerability, right? That's what's beautiful about this a story is seeing someone be vulnerable and sharing it.
Yeah.
Now, I live in a family full of people who just do things and don't ask. I come from a very creative family. So, for example, my my husband, he doesn't go to church, he's never been to Bible school, but he writes books about the Bible.
Wow.
And he gets frustrated because people who look at his books, they don't want to give him any accolades because he doesn't have the degree. So there is very much in certain parts of the world, in certain cultures like academia, that you are really supposed to have the credentials before you can do something.
Hmm.
And on the other hand, he gets lots of accolades for his creative making. He can take a picture from a book and just create a model out of it with
It's phenomenal.
and and that somehow no one's intimidated by and everyone appreciates it and loves it. And so in contrast to that, my husband seems to have no trouble just doing stuff without asking. But he sometimes suffers if he doesn't get some appreciation, and that's understandable. On the other hand, there's my mom who grew up very much thinking that there were rules to life and you were not supposed to do something unless that was part of your culturally acceptable job. So she's a very creative person and she likes to paint, but she felt like it was wrong for her to pursue that because she's a
Hmm.
stay-at-home mom. She was supposed to decorate her home and take care of her family. But if she got into a painting, she kind of disappeared into the work and forgot all
Hmm.
about her family and her responsibilities, and it kind of freaked her out. So she didn't paint but maybe half a dozen pictures until, just like the gal in our chapter today, Mary Delaney began her work as an artist when she was 80, as did my
Wow.
mom.
Wow.
She finally gave up the do's and don'ts of whatever she was supposed to do or not do. She had time and a need to express herself, and she just started creating artwork with pencils and finally not asking permission, and I was very proud of her when she did that because it took a little courage from her to think about it and actually start doing it. When we first suggested, maybe you'd like to do this, and it took her a while to actually start. And just like Mary Delaney, um, she began making flowers in a brand new way. It's if you Google artwork by Mary Delaney, you get a whole row of flower pictures that are actually collages.
Oh, wow. I love a mixed media art. Like, it's a fascinating art form to me, but that's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good model for young people and for us in our middle age to kind of see that it's never too late to try something new, whatever is your interest, whatever passion maybe has been bubbling underneath for a few years. Maybe something happens in your life and now there's time to
Hmm.
pursue that, right? Just go for it.
Yeah, it's so good. I just love that idea. And I do find that in our fiber arts, there is a culture of gatekeeping, and I don't understand where it comes from. I don't understand how it happens. And I personally have to work really hard not to be the gatekeeper myself. like with myself, but also with others, and just, let the work speak for itself and the effort um, that went into it, because that's what it's all about.
Yeah, and that's a good point. And that vulnerability, that happens when we create something, it reminds me of, when we meet together at our guild. I think that's why it's so special that there's never any criticism. It's like the unspoken rule at a knitting gathering is that you only say good things about whatever someone is making,
Hmm.
because that person is bringing something that they've spent hours and hours with, and maybe struggles and tears, and maybe something new they've tried, and we just want to be there for each other in a positive way.
That's true. Like, I never want to be the reason why someone has bitterness or that uncomfortable feeling about their work. Like, I want to be the encouraging force of optimism and creativity. Like, I know how hard it is for the things that I do, and I want to honor that in somebody else for sure,
Hmm.
and
Yeah,
their
let's
work.
definitely do that for each other and for ourselves, like you said, for
Yeah,
ourselves.
it's so good.
Gosh. Good thoughts.
Yeah.
And the assignment this week is to try to either start something that you've been putting off because you're worried that it's too hard, or to do
I have a list
something,
of 10 things.
okay, or to just or to write something that you don't feel qualified to write about,
Mm.
or to design a colorwork hat. And there's a poem to read. So I know for me, I'm a musician who is totally unqualified. I have no degree. I just have a lot of passion to make music, and I'm not even particularly good at it. But I have to employ this a lot when I play my recorder, or when every once in a while I actually try to write a little song. And,
Wow.
and it's something that and then my brother who went to Peabody, or my son who has a musical performance degree. It's like I never want to play for them because I immediately assume they're going to be very critical. But sometimes
Mm.
they surprise me and they're very kind. But that's definitely goes into the category of my challenge, do without asking. That's going to be my homework, is to go ahead and, you know, create create more with my recorder, and try to going into an uncomfortable place. Just let my passion go where it wants to and not feel unqualified, or not let
So
it
hard.
stop me.
Yeah. It's almost like the force of a brick wall.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh.
Gosh. Well,
But that this is the chapter, and this is, we both have personal experience with these ideas, and so I think talking about it normalizes the feelings, the uncomfortableness, and it also shows that it's part of the creative process, that this uncomfortable piece is the price of admission for making something that's never existed in the world before,
mm,
regardless of the medium that we choose.
hmm hmm that's good. It's good. You're right. Talking
Okay.
about it helps me feel like the uncomfortable feelings are normal, and that it's okay to just go ahead and do it. And it
It
doesn't
totally
matter if it's
is.
bad. What matters is that our heart needs to go on a journey.
Hmm. I love that. So good.
Well, good. Thanks everyone for joining us today, and I hope
Mm.
that uh, you have a wonderful week. And please let those creative moments happen, and I hope that they make your life better.
Mm.
Okay. Take care.